We're going to just do some basic contracts questions tonight.
Lonnie is selling his investment property to Jen. The property is set to close on April 10th. However, Lonnie collected rent for the month of April from his tenant at the beginning of the month. What will likely happen? So I'm going to read it again just in case. Lonnie is selling his investment property to Jen. The property is set to close on April 10th. However, Lonnie collected the rent for the month of April from his tenant at the beginning of the month. What will likely? Is it A, the rent for April will be returned to the tenant and neither Lonnie or Jen will receive it? Is it B, Jen will receive a credit from Lonnie for the rent for the period of from the time of closing until the end of month? Is it Jen will owe Lonnie a credit for the portion of the month she owns the property? Or is it Lonnie will typically keep all of the rent for the month in which the property is sold? You all are right. The answer is B. Jen will receive a credit from Lonnie for the rent for the period from the time of closing until the end of the month. Think of it this way. This tenant moved in at the beginning of April, and that landlord got rent for the whole month. But at the end of the story, the original owner didn't own the house for the whole month. The owner sold to somebody new. So if that somebody new is Jen, Jen owns this property after the 10th, but they need to be compensated. Jen needs to be compensated for letting somebody live there. So the money that Lonnie got at the beginning of the month, Jen needs her portion of that.
Okay. In regard to the manner of creation, a contract may be, is it express or implied? Is it unilateral or express? Is it implied or bilateral? Or is it express or executory? When it comes to creating a contract, which one would we have here? Express or implied, unilateral or express, implied or bilateral, or express or executory? Right. It can be express or implied. It can be expressed in writing. It could be expressed orally, although we would prefer in real estate contracts that it be in writing, right? Because the statute of frauds. Or it could be an implied contract. If it just was like when I go into a restaurant and I sit down and I order my food, they expect me to pay. That's an implied contract, right? All right. Good job, guys. Everybody got that one. Next is Kandyce.
All right. All of these are required elements of a contract except. All of these are required elements of a contract except. So that means 3 of these will be required elements and 1 will not. We're looking for the outlier, the one that is not. So, is it A, contingency, B, acceptance, C, offer, or D, consideration? What have you? Okay, we got A's, we got A's, we got A's, lots of A's. I think it's pretty clear. Yep, contingencies. Contingencies could be added to a contract, but it's not required.
So, you guys, what are some common contingencies that we might see in a contract? That's some things that are contingencies we might see in a contract. I think of financing contingency,
Contingency,
inspection, got to sell my house before I buy another one.
appraisal.
Yeah. These
Appraisal.
are the ones that come to mind. Timmy is impatient to find a home to buy. He makes an offer to Fred to buy his home. He offers $13,000 in earnest money. Before Fred has time to respond, Timmy calls him and withdraws his offer. Do they have a valid contract? Is it no, Timmy did not offer enough earnest money. Timmy. No, Timmy withdrew his offer before Fred accepted. Therefore, there is no contract and his broker can return his earnest money. Yes, because Fred has already signed the offer as accepted, but just hasn't got around to returning it to Timmy yet. Or possibly since the offer timeline had not yet expired, Fred could ignore his conversation with Timmy and accept his offer.
You forgot an answer choice. Timmy could be stuck in a well.
Yeah. So no, Timmy withdrew his offer before Fred accepted. Therefore, there is no contract and the broker can return his earnest money. We never got a contract here. All right.
My young people, if you've never seen the TV show Lassie,
Oh, that's the
I have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Next question. John meets with a notary and voluntarily signs a document in front of her. This is called a or an. Is it a justification? Is it accretion? Is it acknowledgement? Or is it an indemnity clause? What say you? Ooh, that one came fast and furious. Everybody knew that was acknowledgement. I love it.
Let's see if we can find a harder one for him. In order for a listing contract to be valid, it must be, is it in writing? It must offer an assignment clause. It must be signed in front of two witnesses or verbal for it to be valid. What do you guys think?
And this is a listing contract, mind you.
Listing contract, the employment contract between the broker and the seller. Very good, guys. Those should be in writing for sure. For sure. All right. Next.
In
Candace.
their purchase agreement, Jack and Sue have agreed that if Sue does not close the transaction as agreed in the contract, Jack will get to keep her earnest money. What is this sort of agreement called? Is it specific performance, liquidated damages, treble damages, or punitive damages? Well, our answer is A, liquidated damages, because liquidated damages are monies that are paid out when somebody breaches the contract. But the key to liquidated damages is that you agreed to this amount as part of the contract. Specific performance is what you ask for from a judge when somebody breaches. So when somebody breaches, either you're getting money to feel better, or you can ask the judge to force that person to do whatever specific activity they said they were going to do in the contract. That is specific performance. Both deal with breaches, but two very different answers.
And punitive damages is when
Oh,
what
yeah.
you did was so egregious that they want to really send a message. So, in punitive damages, they're going to give you like a really big damage amount, the judgment against you to teach you a lesson. Like it's going to be to punish you, right?
Yeah, to punish you. Okay.
Kenneth is a buyer and he has placed a provision in his purchase and sale contract on a home he is buying. The provision states that the contract is dependent upon him qualifying for an FHA loan in the purchase. This is called a what? Is it a contingency, a deed restriction, a byline, or a covenant? Kenneth is a buyer. He's placed a provision in his purchase and sale contract on a home he is buying. The provision states that the contract is dependent upon him qualifying for an FHA loan in the purchase. And of course, this is a contingency, right?
Yeah.
A contingency. All right, Candace.
Logan signed an exclusive right to sell listing for his residence with Yellow River Realty for a list price of $230,000. During the listing period, a forest fire broke out, burning the home to get to the ground. Not to get to the ground, but to the ground. Under these circumstances, is it Logan will have to pay the listing brokerage half of the commission in order to terminate the contract? Is it Yellow River Realty is not entitled to a commission and the listing is terminated? Is it Logan's insurance company will need to pay Yellow River Realty damages for the loss of their potential commission? Or is it D, Logan will need to sign a listing contract extension, allowing adequate time for Yellow River to market the replacement property once the home is rebuilt using the insurance proceeds? And y'all are throwing the right answer up there. It is B. Yellow River Realty is not entitled to a commission because the home was destroyed. That listing is terminated.
A lease that provides the tenant with the right, but not the obligation, to purchase the lease property at a specified price within a specified period of time. Is it a lease purchase, a land contract, a contract for deed, or a lease option? He is not unobligated, right? Very good. You guys caught that lease option for sure. If it was a lease purchase, they would be obligated because there would be a purchase contract entwined with that lease, right? But the lease option, they have an option just like any other option. They could buy or they could not buy. It's up to them.
I like to point out, like, land contract and contract for deed are synonyms. So you knew it
Yep.
couldn't have been that.
Yeah, that's true. Good point. Good point. I didn't even think of that. That's a good point, Candace.
Hi.
All right.
Broker Christina is entitled to a commission regardless of who sells the property during her listing period. What kind of listing agreement does she have? Is it A, an exclusive right to sell? B, an exclusive agency agreement? C, an open listing? Or D, a net listing? Right. We're getting lots of A's, tossing it up there. Yep. You already knew the
I
answer.
think they cannot forget this because we've gone over it so many times. Like,
I,
no one in America will miss this question now because we have beaten them with it, haven't we? So I'm
well,
glad.
that just goes to show you that it's going to be on the test. So we got to make sure
Yeah,
you got it.
that's right.
Mhm.
The buyer of the home receives a blank on the closing statement when he receives funds from the seller in order to pay taxes that will be billed in the future. Is it a debit? Is it a credit? Is it constructive notice? Or is it actual notice? What do you guys think? What's he going to get here? He receives funds from the seller to pay taxes that will be billed in the future. Yes, indeed, a credit. Should I tell my little silly sweater thing?
Yes. Yes. You can.
So I always remember debits and credits this way. If I go to the mall and I take out my debit card and I swipe it, I'm paying for something that's a debit, right? But let's say I got Kandyce a sweater for Christmas and it was too big. And she's like, no, I need a different sweater. And I didn't have the receipt, but I told Kandyce, well, I got it at Macy's and the tags are still on it. She takes it to Macy's. And what is Macy's going to give Kandyce for the sweater? Anybody think about this way? She's going to get a store credit, right? A store credit, yes. And so she can spend that money that day, just like the person getting the credit at the closing.
Ted and Sally live in separate states and are discussing the rules for depositing earnest money where they live. The rules in Ted's state are different than the rule in Sally's. What are the rules for depositing earnest money based on? Is it A, local ordinances, B, the brokerage firm's 5 years business plan, C, federal legislation, or D, state law? What are you thinking?
Mm,
It's a different type of question. All right, we got a B, some B's, and we got D's.
right.
All right. And yes, it is going to be D. Guys, there's no federal legislation that says what happens with earnest money. And it's not about the brokerage's 5 years business plan. And it's not about local ordinances. This is state law says, hey, you're a licensed agent. Here's what your rules are, timing, things like that for earnest money.
Harry is serious about buying Tim's property. He offers blank to indicate that he is making a good faith offer on the home and is serious about the offer. Is it commission? Is it due diligence fees? Is it extra money? Or is it earnest money? Everybody's going to know this one. It's a little too easy, but always good to
I think
remind
I knew that one
ourselves
was
about
earnest
earnest
money.
money.
And not a
Yeah.
lot of states use due diligence money.
Don't
Some
you?
do. Hmm?
Don't you guys?
Oh, yeah. We are completely reliant on some due diligence money. So, yes, in North Carolina, yeah, we are all about some due
Yeah.
diligence. All right, let's go. Matthew, an agent at GMH Realty, is relocating to a new state next month. He has listed his personal home with his brokerage and has received an offer from a buyer that includes earnest money. What should Matthew do with his earnest money? A, give it to Candace. A, turn it over to his broker. B, deposit it into his personal checking account. C, deposit it directly into his broker's trust account. Or D, deposit it into his personal trust account. All right. Yaya says A. Frenzel says A. Jess G. Everybody's saying A. Is that the A? Give it to Candace because I like that option.
Woo.
And you might go to jail, but hey, I'll have the money.
Little conversion. Hey, there's conversion. There's like an example of what we gave it to Candace. It would be conversion, right? Another vocab
She
word.
told us to.
During a recent sales meeting, the manager at ABC Realty encouraged his agents to take listings that offer the most protection for the broker. What type of listing contract is he referring to? An exclusive agency listing, an exclusive right to sell, a broker protection clause, or an open listing? What do you guys think? What
We got some C's and then we got some B's.
Exclusive right to sell. Now, if you had an exclusive right to sell with a broker protection clause included, that would be even more splendid for the brokerage, right? Because if they have a broker protection clause or a safety clause in there, if they bring a buyer during the listing and it expires, then the buyer comes back within so much period of time that they introduced, they would still get paid. So that would be even better. All right, Candace.
All right. A contract has not been put into words, but the actions of the parties indicate that it exists. This is called a or an Is it an implied contract, an honorary contract, an express contract, or a verbal contract? Y'all are blowing up a chat. You got A's, 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 A's. You have a C, but we know our answer is A. It's implied. You didn't state it. It's not in writing. It came about from the actions. That is implication or an implied contract.
All right. Abigail is a broker who has taken a new listing. If the home is sold by anyone during the listing period, she will receive a commission. Anybody. What kind of contract is this? Exclusive agency, buyer agency agreement, open listing, or exclusive right to sell?
I'm sensing a theme with these questions tonight. I didn't know what
They are not all about this, but they happen to be falling this way, don't they?
Jerry is selling his home on a land contract to Fred. Jerry is the devisee, the legatee. It sounds like a manatee, but legatee. Okay. Regulators, mount up, or a vendor. What say you? Why do I have all these songs in my head at all times?
Yeah, he is the vendor, and the buyer would be the vendee, and the land contract owner.
Exactly.
Oh, you know what? Let me ask you guys: who is the devisee? Who is the devisee? If Kandyce gives me something and I am the devisee, what am I getting from Kandyce? So she's leaving me real estate in her will, right? She's devising the real estate to me in her will. She's giving me real estate in her will. She's devising it, and then I receive it. I'm the devisee.
Guys, if you've ever watched like a movie or a TV show and there's some dramatic reading of a will, and they're like, to my favorite niece or nephew, I bequeath, blah, 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 blah. A bequest or to bequeath somebody is to give personal property via a will. And when you give real property via a will, it's a device.
So Justine asked, what's the administrator do? So if I die testate, I have an executor that I've appointed for my will. Like if I picked Kandyce to give my stuff out, if I passed away, she would be my executor. But what if I died intestate and the court appointed somebody to make sure my stuff got distributed? That's the administrator. So hopefully that helps. All right, Kandyce, this is yours.
Donald, a buyer, made an offer to purchase a home from Stephen, the seller. There was no earnest money included in the contract. Stephen signed the offer and returned it to Donald with no changes. Do they have a valid contract? Is it yes? However, they will now need to add an addendum requiring earnest money to be added. Is it no? Stephen should have responded orally instead. Is it no? There is no valid contract as there is no earnest money. Or is it yes? There was acceptance and delivery. And it looks like we cannot fool them. The answer is D.
So you do not need to have earnest money as long as the two parties agree. Let's see. Broker Doris has received earnest money from a prospective purchaser of a home. This is an example of trust funds, consideration, speaking of, commission, or inheritance. What do you guys think? Broker Doris has, have I fooled them?
Nope.
Broker Doris has received earnest money from a prospective purchaser of a home.
It's actually trust monies, guys. Trust money. All right, Bobby Sue. Okay. Bobby Sue just accepted and signed an offer from Irene. She handed it to her broker and asked him to deliver it to Irene. When the broker arrives at Irene's home, she learns from Irene's nurse that Irene has suffered from advanced dementia and has no idea that she made the offer. Do they have a contract in the middle of this hurricane? But do they have a contract? Right? So is it yes, Bobby Sue signed it and had her broker deliver it back to Irene's home? Is it no, Irene did not offer enough earnest money? Is it yes, Bobby Sue responded within the prescribed time period? Or is it no, Irene was not competent to enter the contract due to her advanced dementia? And you already know the answer is D.
What federal act is designed to prevent lenders, real estate agents, developers, title insurance companies, and other persons, such as appraisers and inspectors, who service the real estate settlement process from providing kickbacks or referral fees to each other, and from facilitating bait and switch tactics. Which one keeps those kickbacks from happening? And that would be RESPA, right? Everybody always remembers that about RESPA.
The
No
kickback.
kickback banks, no
Because I
kickback.
feel like it would be really great money if we could get them. It's just
Yeah.
unfortunately illegal on a federal
Unfortunately,
level.
it is indeed illegal. All right. What do you think? You'll do the next one, Candace. There you go.
The party who makes an offer is known as the offeror, the contractor, the offeree, or the underwriter. All right, what say you? We got A's, 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 A's. Of course, the person making the offer, giving the offer is the offeror.
Who's the underwriter, you guys?
Oh, good
Anybody
question.
know this one? The underwriter has an important job. He can make or break our day. If we're waiting for a deal to close up shop on financing and the underwriter says, nope, we need more stuff. And they always ask for more, right? The underwriter is the person who looks it over all the loan stuff and makes sure all the documents and everything is in order. And then if they need more information, they will come and they will ask for it before they will approve that loan. So Ken and Gabe have signed a purchase and sale contract. Ken promises to buy Gabe's 40 acres and Gabe promises to sell it to him. This is known as, is it consideration, a counteroffer, quid pro quo, or an easement? What do you think?
Mhm.
They have signed this purchase contract to buy Gabe's 40 acres and Gabe has said he will sell it. Yes, that is consideration. Boy, this has been the theme tonight. Exclusive right to sell, exclusive agency, consideration, and
Earnest
earnest
money.
We have been on a real kick with this. So hopefully you guys have learned a little bit about that. Quid pro quo is like when I do something with an expectation you're going to do something back for me. Is that a good way to explain it?
It is quid pro quo. It's if I do this, then you'll do that. Like
Yeah.
I'll take out the trash if
But
you
it's
do
kind of
this
got
that I
like a
don't want to do.
negative connotation. Like it's like a kind of a little bit of a
I think that's
shiftiness to it.
because of Silence of the Lambs.
Is it?
I think
Okay.
that's why. I think the Silence of the Lambs guy made it real creepy. Like make
Oh,
the
who
lambs.
else? Desiree is taking her test Thursday.
Mm.
Let's see.
Faith in everybody. I do. I know they know the material. It's just a matter of, not getting nervous and keep getting it in there. It's a lot, y'all. It is a lot of information. So I know it's easy for us to say don't get discouraged, but remember we were right there where you
Yeah.
were, and we help people all the time who are feeling discouraged, and then somehow eventually you miraculously. So we
Yep.
know you can do it.